Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to RJ Rennie Unhinged. Uncut, unfiltered, unhinged. Alright, so we've had a pretty interesting week down here in the heart of Texas, being Waco. Historic cold starting from last Thursday, where it started raining ice. It was freezing rain, so it wanted just turning into sleet and ice. Rolling over to 3 to 4 inches of snow on Sunday night, reinforced by more snow on Wednesday, including temperatures that were down in single digits and a wind chill that was in the negatives. Let me repeat, all of those things I just mentioned sound completely normal if you are talking about, say, Cleveland, Ohio, Minnesota, Green Bay, Wisconsin. But this is the heart of Texas, the state of Texas, whose one of their calls to bring people there are, other than Republican policies, is warm weather. And everybody here was losing their minds over this cold spell, but it wasn't, entirely just because of the cold. It blacked out a bunch of power grids because all of these wind turbines that are supposed to deliver people power were frozen over. So, remember that Trump once said, jokingly, that a lot of these wind turbines, if the wind's not blowing, you can't watch TV. He's like, honey, is the wind blowing, darling? I like to watch television tonight. Is the wind blowing? And in a way, he's right. I mean, obviously it's a joke, but that's what happened this past week. Is a lot of these wind farms in West Texas that give many Texans their power were just frozen and they couldn't turn. So there were rolling blackouts across most of the state, and for the first time ever, every single Texas county had a winter storm warning. That was earlier in the week. I believe it was probably Sunday night when all of this stuff initially hit. So this week, Texas was under a sheet of snow. And we got classes canceled, thankfully, Monday through Thursday. It warmed up a little bit yesterday being Friday, and we had virtual learning. But we've been virtual since last Thursday because the roads froze over so much that nobody could drive. So it completely shut down everything. Like businesses, everything were just done. Because cities like Waco, if you're in a city, let's say you're in a town meeting, a city council meeting in Waco, Texas, and you're going over the budget and what do we have to allocate funds for, I don't think very high on your list is going to be salt trucks and snow plows. And it came back to bite them this week. Now, granted, this is Texas after all, and maybe if you're talking about cities like Amarillo, Lubbock, maybe even Dallas and Fort Worth, you may get this a little bit more often, so you would think about it. But way down here, we're 100 miles south of Dallas. You just don't think about things like that. And even further south into cities like Austin, which are way bigger than we are, it killed everything. All business, all restaurants, just done. They shut down DoorDash because people couldn't get out and drive. I wasn't gonna try to do it. My car was messed up anyway, and I just bought a new one today. So thankfully, I'm out of whatever. I'm out of that chaos, and I'll get to that in a second. And it shut everything out because nobody would. I'm not gonna try to go out there. Those roads are covered in a sheet of ice. Like you can't get any traction. After the snow came down on top of the ice that came down last week, you had the best traction on the roads in the snow, and that's an issue because as soon as you got beneath the snow, there was ice, and there's about that much ice before you could get to the road, and that much ice is that far away from the actual pavement, so the tires couldn't grip anything. Yet there were still people, going around, doing whatever and pulling. There were people having fun and pulling sleds around. I can understand that because there was nobody on there. There should have been nobody on the roads, and compared to a normal business day, there was nobody on the roads. There were still several people, but I don't know where they were going. Everything was shut down because of how uncharacteristic it is for this area to have that kind of winter weather. So then we move into, I believe Wednesday it was. And Wednesday I got some dire news. A lot of people got some dire news. conservative conservative legend and radio host Rush Limbaugh passed away from his lung cancer at the age of 70 on Thursday. He had announced it, I believe, about a year previous, and he was just getting and doing the show whenever he could in between his treatments. So he had a lot of time off, but he was just persevering and getting to the studio as much as possible to run his broadcast while dealing with this cancer. And it just goes to show that, bad things happen to really good people, and and you still don't figure out why. Like, whether you're a believer or not, which I am, it's still a very difficult question to answer. You don't know why bad things happen like this. Now, Rush is home. He gets to return his talent that was on loan from God. He gets to give it back to him now. But his family and all of his fans were just looking at, like, what did he do to get taken away this early? The man has been a legend for well over 30 years. I've followed him actively for about the past 3 or 4, but I've listened to him, riding around with my dad in the truck for probably another 4 or 5 years on top of that. That's how I was familiar with him. So as soon as I could drive and I'd be out, when his show came on, out working, I just put him on and listened to him as I was driving around. And, there's a lot of people, even some people on the conservative side, who won't agree with everything that Rush says, or think that some of Rush's early content wouldn't be that comical. But you cannot deny the trailblazing that he did in AM stations. He's almost the inventor of AM radio. There were so many unused waves when he, came over there, and he's just like, all right, well, there's an entire group. There's just this. How do I put this? There's an entire unused area of radio, and there's people that could use what I that want to hear what I am, because even when Rush was starting, you still had the media starting to turn to what it is today is just the mouthpiece of the left, as Rush would say a lot of times. Conservatives like me and conservatives like him would not have anywhere to go to hear their ideals talked about. Because everywhere you go, you would hear topics like, say, gun control, abortion, immigration, or even just discussions about each political candidate. But they would all be with the same spin. They would be, oh, you must give the women the right to do whatever they want. Oh, we got to let everyone in here. Guns are bad. They're responsible for all bonds. That's where you would hear everywhere. But then you have Rush, the voice of common sense, the voice of conservatives everywhere, who just flips everything on his head and gave the media, their worst nightmare. It was a guy that was listened to by millions of people. Probably 30 million plus, I think, his numbers are insane in how many people would tune in to listen to his show. And he was the mouthpiece of the conservative movement for around 30 years. And I think this year was his either 31st or 32nd year on AM radio. And he is just ballooned. Like, you know how influential you are when you literally say before you're doing a bit, all right, mainstream media, here's a soundbite for you, and then he'd say whatever it is he's going to say, because he knew that they're just watchdogs listening to his program, just waiting for something to attack him on. And his listeners can understand when parody is there, and they can understand when he's being serious, because, we have brains and we can think and we can draw context from a conversation. So we lost a legend earlier this week, and Rush is kind of one of the inspirations for me wanting to get behind a microphone like I am now. Obviously, this isn't the golden EIB microphone. This is the black $20, Amazon microphone, for which I bring you, whatever I want to say on a YouTube platform where 30, 40 people can see it. But ever since I got into the realm of communications, how do you get to be the next Rush? How does a conservative get to that point where everyone wants to listen to him? Some of his guest hosts run a lot smaller, or the hosts of a lot smaller shows in their respective areas. You had Ken Matthews, who is in Harrisburg. You had Todd Herman, who's in Seattle, and Mark Stein, who's everywhere. He's featuring guest hosts for everybody and does a great job whenever he's on air. But how do you get to be the next Rush? I don't think there ever can be in the next Rush. But if you're gonna be somebody like me, who falls on this side of the aisle and wants to get your opinions out there, hence why I started a channel like this. You just want to get your opinions out there while adhering to the YouTube overlords' guidelines. Which I'm surprised that this isn't going to be, removed, because 30 people supporting Rush Limbaugh or wanting to, pay their respects to Rush is too many. We got to shut these guys down. The left has gotten a dream come true for them. The most influential mouthpiece is gone, but they're going to learn something, just like they learned with Donald. Well, they haven't learned, but what they've discovered with Donald Trump is that just because a prominent figure in a movement is gone does not mean the movement is dead. Rush has been the mouthpiece for a long time about the conservative movement, and people like me and millions of other people. I would say 70, 79 million, 74 million, however many people voted for Trump. It's those people that Rush spoke for. It was those people that Donald Trump acted for. And the left associates that with, these people just came around to rally this candidate, when in reality, these people are just reflecting the views that normal conservative Americans already had, but just couldn't voice because of constant slander. So the media is in for a rude awakening when the most influential conservative, broadcaster passes away. And they're going to be like, okay, well, maybe this is our chance to get rid of this conservative movement because they no longer have a mouthpiece. We're not going away. And we're still going to be that silent majority that you are desperately wrong when it comes to polling. So there's that. Now, to make a completely off-topic segue, I also learned a very important lesson the past couple weeks. My car, which was a 2005 Ford Escape, broke down for... Carry the one. Probably about the 7th or 8th time. About a week ago. It was a shock that was making a lot of noise because the actual frame of the car rusted out and busted. I bought that thing in July. I traded in my old truck, 2005 Ranger, for a 2005 Escape. Put $2,500 as a trade-in value. Had about 22 to 24 left over to pay for the car, to pay for the Escape. 2 or 3 months after I bought it, when I got it down here to Texas from North Carolina, the transmission up and died at a little over 100,000 miles. Fast forward, and the CV axles were busted when I bought it. Had to get those replaced. When they replaced the CV axles, somebody forgot to tighten lug nuts. My tire fell off on the way down here, so I had to replace a rotor and replace the entire wheel mount for my driver front tire. When that happened, it damaged my exhaust system, and I had to get the exhaust system re-welded, and I think I had to replace a catalytic converter that cost me $300. I paid $4,200 for that car, $2,500 for a trade-in, so only down to about $2,000. I've spent probably $2,500 trying to keep that thing running. And with this thing, it was going to be completely just a pain to fix. So I had to go and find a new one. I had to take out another loan, put down money, and purchased a 2016 Nissan Rogue. A lot more reliable car, and a lot newer cars should last me for a very long time. Bottom line is, you learn a lot of lessons the hard way. And for me, I've learned every single lesson since I've been in college the hard way. And that thing is just to don't make any rash decisions when it comes to things that should impact you a while. I went into buying that car with a complete wrong mindset, and it came back to bite me. But I'm past it. Now I got a 66-month long term to pay that car off, and I'm going to drive that thing until it dies. I plan to do that with the other one. It just died a lot faster than it should have. So it's been a pretty busy week. It's been a very eventful week. And you know what? I'm just glad to be over it, honestly. I'm glad to be through the storm and coming out on the other side. So in conclusion, RIP to Rush. And I will see you next time on RJ Rennie Unhinged.